Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of SportsDay Rangers. I'm John Blake here in beautiful Arlington, Texas.
And I'm Evan Grant in Atlanta, my original hometown, where the Rangers open the second half of the season tonight against the first place Atlanta Braves.
The All-Star game is behind us, and now it's a sprint to the trade deadline. It's the first place Rangers here at the break. They're exploring the market.
The club played well going into the break, winning 4 of 6 at home against AL West foes, the Angels and Houston Astros, and they've got 7 more key division games coming up before the deadline, 4 at home against Seattle and 3 in Houston.
And there's a lot going on this week. Evan, of course, was in Philadelphia for the All-Star game, did an excellent job at chronicling Jacob Latz, one batter faced, but everything else that Jacob went into for the All-Star game looked like he had a great time. The MLB draft was last week. The Rangers concentrated on high school players, including what the consensus best high school pitcher in the draft in the first round. And the Rangers have also made some changes here as we go into the second half on their direct-to-consumer model in their streaming service. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, Evan, as we go along here.
We'll get into all of that, John, but we do need to tease our guest on this week's podcast, a player who was undrafted and signed out of Puerto Rico, originally by the Los Angeles Angels, Bengie Molina, one of the founding members of the Flying Molina Catching Brothers. Bengie only played in 70 regular and postseason games for the Rangers, but left an indelible mark on that team with two images, one of which is figured into a statue at Globe Life Field.
And the other big moment for Bengie occurred 16 years ago yesterday when he hit for the cycle in Boston, and that will be the focus today of our archives in Arlington. We'll look a little bit at Ranger cycles through history.
You can reach out to us on X with any Rangers questions or comments. I'm at Evan_P_Grant, and he is at Ranger Blake.
Well, let's start, I guess, with the All-Star game experience and Jacob Latz, Evan. It looked like he had a great time. I mean, certainly a very unlikely All-Star when the season started. Got late in the game when John Schneider worked in all those relievers and struck out the only batter he faced. Let's talk a little bit about that after. So, what was his reaction to appearing in the game and then getting the strikeout?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just all capped a great couple of days for Jake, who made the whole All-Star experience about his family. He was accompanied on the red carpet by his mom and dad. His sisters all came up to Philadelphia, as did really a group of high school buddies that he's known since he was a teenager, who all made the trip. And it was really more of a family affair. But, you know, when I ran into Jake in the clubhouse right after the game, he just came up to me and said, this is unbelievable. I just shook Justin Verlander's hand and congratulated him on what an amazing career. And I mean, he was beaming about it. And that was before we even talked about him going in for his one batter appearance, as John Schneider did try to work in all those first-time All-Stars, to face who else but the hardest guy in baseball to strike out, and then striking him out, Luis Arraez, on 6 pitches, getting him to chase a couple of fastballs off the plate at the end of the at-bat.
So first-time All-Stars, it's I've worked 30 All-Star games, and first-time All-Stars, it's always great to watch them in their first All-Star experience. And in this day and age, it's like a whirlwind that MLB and everybody keeps them so occupied for 48 hours, and you kind of, before you know it, it's gone. But it looked like Jake had a better experience than you did. You were very on X. You talked about your seat in the press box being kind of in a penalty box situation. Now, knowing that press box in Philadelphia, I was trying to imagine where you were actually sitting.
Yeah, well, my seat's not all that exciting, but there's a little crook in the press box that where it kind of turns. and the press box is open air where they can open and close the windows, but where it turns, there's a window that doesn't open, and it's a little bit
Oh,
dirty.
okay. I know
And
where
I
you
got
are.
seated
Okay.
behind that, so they knew I was only going to have to be worried about one batter, and so I was able to peek around the edge and watch Jacob Latz. But listen, I got a better peek into the behind the scenes situation with an all-star than I ever had before. Jake was allowed me to come to his all-star fitting for his suit with the designer Tom Marcoletti and his parents. And when Jake flashed, the new thing with players is the panels on their all-star suits for the red carpet show, another MLB um, designed event, and players get to design their own interior panels. And what was Jake's but a collage of 9 pictures of family and friends.
Very
And
nice. Yeah.
his mother started to shed a tear when she saw it for the first time. She had no idea that that was coming. And then she told me, she showed me the family group chat, and the family group chat is named Family is Everything. And it was Jake who kind of came up with that name. And so, I had kind of gone into this whole idea intending to write a story about what a hard, kind of this paradox, right? Of this hardest working reliever in baseball who pitches 2 inning saves, and he's the old school blue collar kind of closer getting fitted for a fancy suit. And then it turned into something really much more about family. And I really got a great appreciation for how close he is with his family, and how much he honors the things his mom and dad and his family did to make this dream come true, this singular dream of playing baseball come true. It was for me, it was a really cool experience. I hope it translated to folks who got a chance to read. And look, I mean, he even took time in his hotel suite to answer like 5 questions off of social media on camera from fans. So hats off to Jake for really going above and beyond to reach out to fans.
You're always looking for those innovative things so you can keep that moniker of the innovative person at the morning news. But
I I would just like to be able to give fans the best view possible of their team. That's all.
okay, so we put Philadelphia now in the rearview mirror. You're in Atlanta. The Rangers open the second half with a 3-game series against the Braves, who have had a really good first half. They've struggled a little bit of late. But the Rangers were coming to break with a game and a half lead, 49-47. Played pretty well going into the break. So with the trade deadline on August 3rd, this is what, of course, will be the big focus here over the next several weeks. What do you look for the Rangers, and what do they need to do on the field to get to that trade deadline so Chris Young can make a decision on what they're going to do?
Well, I mean, I think on the field it's pretty easy. They've got to continue to play a little bit above 500. You play a game or two above 500 over these final 3 weeks going into the break, into the deadline, and you're going to probably hold on to first place. So, and very possibly looking at the second playoff spot altogether, because I think the Rangers are a game or a game and a half behind Chicago for the number 2 seed overall right now. What they need to address, I think, to me, still remains the number one priority is relief pitching for me. They need a right-handed reliever. Um, the situation with Chris Martin was untenable. He obviously isn't right or is hurt, and so he went back on the IL. And really, it's hard for Skip Schumacher to find a right-handed relief leverage option ahead of Jacob Latz right now. Jacob Junis is still on the IL. Cole Winn has pitched better the last couple of times out, but he had a really terrible first half leading up to that. And then literally the rest of the options right now are rookies.
Right,
It's the guy who hasn't yet pitched in the big leagues, Emiliano Teodo, Gavin Collier, Peyton Gray, who is an older rookie but still a rookie and who has worked hard. And we've seen maybe a little bit of some fatigue impacting him the last couple
right.
times out. Who else am I missing on that list?
Robbie
Ben
Elstrom.
Peoples. Well, Robbie
Rob,
Alston from the left side and Ben
right, right,
Peoples also from the right side. So
right.
I think they need a right-handed relief option. And here's the crazy thing, John, is 2 weeks ago I would have said, look, my easy target right now would be Garrett Whitlock of Boston. I think the financial situation would be workable. And it looked like the Red Sox were going nowhere. Well, the Red Sox have won 9 in a row.
Right,
They're a half
exactly.
game out of a playoff spot. Craig Breslow is fighting for his job in Boston. So I'm not so sure that Garrett Whitlock is on the market right now. And I think if that's the case, then you turn to somebody like Luke Weaver, who's going to come with a higher remaining contractual obligation. Maybe that means the Mets would have to be willing to take somebody of a um, lesser ilk in terms of a prospect. But when you get down to the prospect capital, the Rangers are a little bit thin there.
All right. So we'll see what happens in the second half. Last one on this before we get into direct to consumer, I guess. Corey Seager, where is he now? And I mean, the injuries they've got Wyatt Langford back. Josh Young, obviously, we don't know about Jacob deGrom. I guess at this taping on when he would see his first start in the second half. But a lot of it still does revolve around what Corey can do, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was a little bit surprised the Rangers didn't go ahead and put deGrom on the IL at the end of last week, allowing him, if he was going to miss that start and miss one more start, to be ready. If they have to put him on the IL now, and they have to, the earliest they're going to be able to backdate him will be to like Tuesday, and then he's going to miss 3 starts basically coming out of the gate in the second half. So don't know what the situation is there. Also, this is kind of a dead period in baseball, so you don't really know what's going on with your clubs a little bit. We will find out the situation with Corey Seager going into the week. He had, I believe, 4 quote unquote good days in a row, and the prognosis was he had to have 7 in a row before he could restart baseball activities. I don't know if the clock has been reset to day 1, or if he has, reached the end of that 7-day counting period and is able to start baseball activities. But I still think even if that's the case, he's, a week away from being ready in a best case scenario. So I don't think he's ready until the week leading into up to the trade deadline. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the situation there.
So the Rangers start the second half with the Braves, the White Sox, and then the Mariners. So it'll be very interesting here over the next first 3 series coming out of the break. But last thing here before we get to our guest, the Rangers on Wednesday made an announcement that they're shifting their direct-to-consumer streaming model from Victory Plus to Buzzer. And it will be ready tonight when the Rangers play the Braves to start the second half. What do you know about that?
Well, I think ready is a relative word. I think that as you and I both fossils when it comes to technology have come to understand,
exactly.
It's hard and it's hard for clubs even to understand all the different platforms that you've got to be up to date on. And so, listen, I think the Rangers and I think the industry was growing concerned about the viability of Victory Plus. And as we saw a day after the Rangers pulled out of their deal with Victory Plus, the Anaheim Ducks, one of the other professional teams that were on Victory Plus, pulled out of their deal. Victory Plus is seeking crucial financing to expand its model and make its business more sustainable. That given, it makes for a less than ideal situation, no matter how you try to approach it. If you say, we'll just do this until Victory goes under, and then we'll switch over to Buzzer and give Buzzer more time to build their apps out, well, you may end up with a point where people have to switch on a dime.
And they miss games, yeah.
And 2 or 3 days notice, the Rangers felt like might be more of a public service option. Right. On the other hand, there are going to be people, and we don't have numbers that account for this, who are getting their TV through Roku TV, or I think Samsung smart TVs that have those app stores, and those app stores aren't yet carrying the Buzzer app. So while they won't cost anything additional for the rest of the season for subscribers who have already paid for the annual subscription, there are people who are going to have these 2 weeks potentially of critical baseball who don't have any baseball to watch unless they're casting from their phone to their TV, and that can be wonky. And so I think it's all part of the transition period that we're going through in the broadcast game. And look, John, you spent the last couple of years of active duty trying to navigate this a whole bunch, and it's never easy. And I think the Rangers are trying to do their best on one consumer, on one consumer. They're trying to do their best to get the games to fans. I think there are going to be hiccups, and I think that those are going to be unfortunate, and it's still going to fall on the Rangers to have to make it right for fans somehow along the way. I don't know any other way, and this is just the world that we're in right now.
Exactly. It's just the media, media in general, from a digital, and it's a world that seems to change all the time. So, and I do think the Rangers are making the best concerted effort to try to bring as many games to as many fans as possible. But with that, our guest this week is Bengie Molina, who became a fan favorite for the club. In the second half of the 2010 season, he was acquired from San Francisco, was basically the regular catcher down the stretch as the Rangers advanced to the World Series for the first time. And this week is a big milestone, 16th anniversary of one of the more memorable moments in club history, and we'll talk to Bengie next. Well, our guest this week on SportsDay Rangers has a great connection to the Rangers. And as we tape this podcast, Evan, it was 16 years ago, 16 years ago today. It was July 16th, 2010, when one of the more probably improbable moments happened in Rangers history when our guest this week, Bengie Molina, hit for the cycle at Fenway Park. Bengie came over in June of that year and caught for the Rangers and was a big factor in getting to the Rangers' first World Series that fall. Bengie, glad to have you on the show today.
Let me tell you, I'm so glad to be with you guys, man. The Rangers always been high class with me, and they treated me so great since the day I got there. So it is really cool to be doing this with you guys.
Well, thank you. Bengie played 13 years in the big leagues for 4 teams, most notably the Angels and the Giants, won a pair of Gold Gloves. I was the Giants' cleanup hitter in the late aughts with Bruce Bochy as the manager. Actually got World Series rings from both teams in 2010 because the Giants obviously beat the Rangers. Had a great postseason career in 42 games. Later coached for the Cardinals and then for the Rangers in 2014. And since 2016 has been a member of their Spanish radio broadcast team. So I'm going to start with the Cardinals then. Jordan Walker's performance in the home run derby on Tuesday night was unbelievable. What kind of kid is he?
Wow, he's a great kid, man. Ever since I known him, but like this is our 4th year, I think, knowing him, and ever since he got to the league and spring training when we met him, he was such a gentleman. He's a very soft-spoken guy. He's a family type of guy, and he worked so hard to see him having success during the season, which is harder, right? To see him having that success after all those tough years, he even went down to the minor leagues. They sent him down, and to come back and having this type of year, and then going to the home run derby with all that pressure, having 2 guys from Philly and the fans all over him, and for him to perform like he was nobody at the stadium. I mean, he had no chills, man. This kid is it's really special, and he's showing it, you know.
Benji, the Cardinals have played well this year. And you also, I think, have spent some time around Skip Schumacher from the Cardinal organization, have you not?
Yes, yes,
So,
he's been around for sure.
so what was your take on the time that you were around Skip, both as when he was playing and as a coach?
I think he's not changed. He's been passionate the whole time. He's been very passionate about the game. He's been very smart. He's a kid that learns, love learning. I heard from my brother Yadi, he's one of the best teammates when he played. Being a manager, obviously, I cannot tell you much, but being a bench coach here, everybody respected this dude. Everybody respected him, the way he went at it, the way he went at his business, the way he wanted to win every day. He didn't care about yesterday or tomorrow. He cared about today. He was prepared to win. I think is one of the most very, very smart guys out there in the game right now.
So I wanted to get into you. I want to get into the cycle. We cannot bury the lead here. I mean, the cycle is just such an incredible accomplishment. And look, I've covered a 30-run game that the Rangers scored against Baltimore. I covered Josh Hamilton's 4-home run game. I haven't covered a Rangers no-hitter. I came in after Kenny Rogers, but I got to tell you, maybe the most memorable singular event that I covered was your cycle in Boston, just because of how unlikely it was. I think this was your 11th game with the Rangers after coming over. Was going back this morning and looking at it again. Forgot that the home run was a grand slam, which made
Yeah.
the cycle even more rare. But can you walk us through, before we get into it, I want to know, do you know all the pitchers you got hits off of in that game?
Man, the first guy I probably can't remember. It was a lefty, right? And then Ramirez, Cabrera,
The
and
starting
then
pitcher in that game, you got the first 2 hits off, single and a double.
who was that? The lefty, right?
Felix
Um,
Dubron.
Felix Dubron,
Dubron. Yes.
left-handed.
And
All
then
right.
obviously Ramirez and Cabrera, and then Ramirez.
So
Um,
what stands out to you first? The first thing that you think about when people bring up the cycle.
the word that you use, improbable, like the word that everybody uses around here too, like the heck it was that possible? How the heck did it happen? That's what comes to mind. And then after that, I was having a really rough year, not being positive or anything like that. I was having a rough year. I had a foul ball into my elbow when I was with the Giants after starting hot. I started really hot the year, or going to another good season. Then I had a foul ball in my left elbow. So I couldn't swing very much. And then Bruce Bochy came in and said, "Hey, I don't care about your hitting. I care about you catching these kids." So I dedicated myself most of it to catching. So um, that comes to mind, how hard it was to not being able to swing as good as I always been because I was hurt. I wish I was healthy for that, even though at the end and in the postseason, I had a really good time with the Rangers. The kids that I play with there made that time so special. JD and all those guys made it really special for me to be there. I have a lot of respect for them, and I had a lot of fun with those guys. Believe me, it was a really fun team. The cycle was tough, obviously, but it was fun. The hard part was not the cycle. The hard part is answering everybody how the hell it happened. That was the tough part. Um, the guys were laughing in the dugout. The guys were having fun with me. They knew what the heck just happened. He just did it. So,
But did you
um,
ever give it a thought? You had a single in the second, double in the fourth, and then the grand slam in the fifth. At that point, did it ever enter your mind, if I hit a triple here, I'm going to have a cycle? I mean, did that ever enter your mind in the late innings?
yes, it was. Way before I got to the bat, I was thinking about that. I said the only chance I have is like somebody runs into a wall and the ball goes into the corner where it went, right? I said to myself, man, I gotta go. I only have one gear, guys. I don't have one, two, three, four. I have one gear, and let's go. So I was thinking, okay, if I get a good pitch, I'm gonna try to hit it hard, and if it goes to the corner, I ain't stopping. So but I was thinking about it. I think it was gonna be, if I could do it, it was gonna be a great feat, man. And it's one of my highlights of my life, of my career.
So in the time between the fifth and the eighth, did anybody in the dugout say anything to you about triple, triple, triple?
Probably everybody, even the trainers, came to me and said, "Hey, man, You hit that ball and it goes right to the corner over there. You better keep going. We want to see you do it. We want to see you do it. And but it was so cool, the whole process. I never thought in my life I was gonna get a triple. Never crossed my mind. But I said if that ball goes to the wall in that corner, I gotta get going. So it was
Well,
fun afterward.
it was the right ballpark, like you said. If you could hit a ball at Fenway in the right spot, then you got a shot.
Yeah, it
But
worked
you also,
perfectly.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was nice. I mean, that guy jumped for the ball, hit this glove, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta be in third, and I have to be in third somehow. I don't care if I get thrown out by 10,000 feet. I'm gonna keep going on this one. Once I made it, the first thing I did was looking at the dugout, and everybody was having fun with it. So that's my favorite part.
And then Wash pinch ran for you there too, right? Because did you tweak your hamstring a little bit after that after running to third?
No, it was the top of my knee tweaked a little bit, but it was because the gear, since I got traded, the Nike could not make my gear in time. So I was using a bigger size gear because that's what they had in their colors. And that gear was poking on top of my knee. So when I ran to third, that's when I felt a little bit like
Okay.
uncomfortable. But it was more like the gear. It wasn't anything like muscle like or you know.
The Benji, I will tell you this. So one other thing that I remember about that game is that in the seventh inning, when it looked like you might come up, John and I kind of sat next to each other in that Fenway press box, and I did rather loudly say, "What are you going to do when he hits a triple here?" And John kind of brushed me off and thought I was just kidding around. But I believed, Benji. I did believe that the triple was coming. And I thought it was going to make for a great story, and it really did. I
So you were that 1%
I listen. I'm
that
all
people
about good
believe in
copy, Benji, and that was going to be great copy if you triple. Because look, I mean, the other part, and you dealt with this all throughout your career and dealt with it in very good humor. But it wasn't just that you were a catcher. I mean, you were slow even for a catcher. And how did you like deal with that element that people? And not that it was supposed to be a great tool, but the idea that you were one of the slowest players in the game. How did you deal with people constantly bringing that up?
it was actually a pushing. It was actually a pushing. It was pushing me to do better in the other aspects of the game. I wanted to be a smart catcher. I wanted to throw guys out. I wanted to block every single ball in the dirt. I wanted to call a great game. I wanted to win. I wanted to have a championship under my belt. I wanted to hit homers. I wanted to hit for average. You know what I mean? Because not having that one part of my game that everybody brought up before anything I done, I wanted the other parts that I did well, to overcome that little part that I couldn't do, So I never took it serious. I never took it too hard. I never took it offensive. It was what it was. This is who I am. If you're gonna concentrate as an organization that I don't run, then I will not have a job. But if you concentrate as an organization that I can call the game and I can help pitchers and I can help win games and I can be inspirational to the young kids and I can be a good hitter and I can get RBIs and I can be clutch and I could do this and I could do that, I can have a job in the major leagues for a long time. So that's why I did so good. I think I pushed myself not to think about that. I thought of myself, you know what? I got to do the other stuff even better because I want them to remember that instead of just me being slow.
Speaking of that, when you come over to the Rangers in June, Matt Trainer was our regular catcher we have, and you remember we'd gone into the season with Salta, Lamarcia, Taylor Teagarden. Salty got hurt. Teagarden didn't play well. Matt Trainer was doing a bulk of the catching. So getting Bengie not only solidified our catching, but that was a young team. And getting a guy that had the postseason experience, had won a World Series with the Angels, back in 2002. What did they tell you? What did JD and Wash tell you when you came over at the end of June?
Wow. He just wanted to be myself. He really, truly enforced that. He said, you know what? We heard so great things about you. So just please be yourself. Don't try to be anybody. We have enough power in this lineup. We have enough good hitters. I don't want you to put pressure. Wherever I've been, I always had the pressure to perform. I hit behind Vladdy Guerrero. I hit behind Garrett Anderson. And then I went to San Francisco. I hit behind Barry Bonds. Then I became a fourth batter. And I went to Toronto. I hit behind Vernon Wells. I hit behind. So
Yeah.
it was always that pressure of performing on hitting that I had. When I got to the Rangers, I never felt that way. I mean, like Andrews, Cruz, Vladdy, Hamilton, all those guys took the load. So it was nothing for me to worry about in that. So I just concentrated on catching good games and with Matt Trainer, who helped me big time because he's been there and he put the hand on it and he said, "Hey, come here. This is how this guy likes to pitch. This is how these guys do this. So all you have to do is do this." So we talk it over. I didn't feel no pressure at all down at the bottom of the lineup. I knew the guys would take over that. And I did my, like Ian Kinsler, Michael Young, all those guys were unreal unreal. So I didn't have to worry. So I took it upon myself to be a good catcher back then and take us to the World Series, and we were hoping to win it. But that's what I was thinking. I mean, they took care of me. They said, "Hey, you don't have to hit. Don't worry. Just carry the load in the catching, and then we're fine."
So you got traded, um, so that this kind of young kid could really move into the role of full-time starter in San Francisco. Did it did it catch you by surprise that you were traded? Or B, because you were who you were, did you recognize that this was Buster coming up behind you and there just wasn't going to be a spot for you to play regularly?
Yeah, at that time I was dealing with my elbow, and I think Bruce Bochy knew it. They wanted a change, and also I heard that JD and everybody over here in the Texas Rangers were pushing so hard because they were missing a catcher, and they were really pushing for me, really pushing it, and somehow convinced them, say, "Hey, man, you got Buster Posey coming behind him. You can spare a catcher. Let's go do this trade." And those are the words that I've been told, like I don't know for real what happened, but Buster was ready to go. Buster was a good student. Buster was a super player, a very smart guy. I knew that was coming. Plus, that I felt like that was my last year too. So what am I going to be fighting about? I mean, who am I tricking here? This kid is coming up, 23, 24, and I'm on my way out. So I felt like it was a possibility. The biggest issue, guys, was like a week earlier that I got traded. I sit down with and I forgot his name, but one of the big dogs in the Giants and the GM. We had breakfast, and he told me, he goes, "Hey, do you want to play 2 more years as a backup for Buster?" And I said, "Hell yeah, man! I love San Francisco. I'll stay here. I'll be the backup, and I'll teach him whatever I know." And then a week later, I ended up being with the Rangers. So that was the weird part. But other than that, this guy Buster is a truly a stud, man. He took over.
Hey, Benji, we can't let you go without asking you about this either. The Molina catching family is obviously legendary. Yachty will go into the Hall of Fame here soon, as soon as he's eligible. And just what's the legacy of Puerto Rican born catchers from Pudge to Yachty to the guys that we have catching in the game now? How do you think that kind of arose?
Oh man, I can start. There's so many things I can say about that. I can start by uh, probably caring. The catchers care about their pitchers. Not only that, they are smart. They're really smart behind the plate. They're really good people. which you have to be if you're a good catcher because you have to have relationship with so many different kinds of pitchers and teammates, and you have to be a good teammate. So I think that's when it started. Also, back then when I signed, I think it's was our way out, from Puerto Rico. It's like, man, the catching position it doesn't ask for too much. So that was our best shot to get out, like that was our best shot to get out of the island and help our family. So that's when it really begins. And then you go back, like you mentioned, Pudge and Yadi, and then Santiago Moore Jr., Benito Santiago, Javi Lopez. I mean, you keep going with those guys, and those guys, the only thing that comes out of my head is like they're really true leaders behind the plate. They took care of so many people while they have to worry about doing their job. So I think it's unreal for me that we have so many catchers. Our family is driven by caring. It's driven by wanting you to have a great contract, wanting you and your family to be settled for life. We want you, through us, helping you that to have a great life, man. So we drove on that. We're like, man, we got to make this guy better. We have to catch good games. We have to have his numbers so he can get a contract and have his family good. So I think that's for us as Molina. We took care of that. We took care of business quite often. The guys my brothers are really true leaders out there. They show the ropes to so many young guys.
I have one more, and I can't let you get away because you are immortalized in a statue outside of Globe Life Field here, and you had a
Don't
lot of.
take it out, man. Don't take it
No,
out.
we won't. It's right there. It's in a good spot now, right next to Adrian Beltre's statues. It's in a good spot. That moment, Game 6 of the LCS, and you'd had a really good postseason. I mean, you played well in the LDS. You actually stole a base in Game 5 against the Rays and hit a 3-run go-ahead homer in Game 4 against the Yankees in the LCS. But that moment in Game 6 when Nefty strikes out Alex Rodriguez at the old ballpark, until the Rangers win the World Series, that is by the greatest moment, obviously, from a fan standpoint in club history. What do you remember about that, and what do you remember about the fans?
I remember how special it was, how special it felt. Watching this group for the first time going to the World Series was super special to me. I try my best, obviously, to do it. And then it's watching us beating the Yankees, man. I mean, the powerhouse. All of a sudden, we're jumping up and down on the mound. And it was so, so real, man. Like, wow, this is a special, special moment. Watching those fans. I had a chance whenever everybody got off from me, they got on top of me. They stole my ball from my pocket, you know. I tried to put the baseball in my pocket or in my glove, and somebody just took it and ran. So, but I had a chance to get up and had a chance to look around at the stadium. It was packed up with like really, really good fans, truly good fans, and seeing how happy they were and how joyful, they were having so much fun. So for me, really, really, after other than winning the World Series with the Angels and that final out and all that stuff, that moment jumps to two because it was so super cool, man. It was really, really cool. And watching the young guys, because that's what you said at the beginning, this team was young. You had a veterans, but we were so young, and nobody probably expected us to do this, but ourselves. And it was so special, man. The statue is gonna live in my heart forever. I really appreciate the way that the Rangers have always been so kind to me and my family. They've always been so kind. I had a hope after 2014 that I was gonna become a manager there somehow. It didn't happen. But I was hoping because that's how much I love the fan base, and that's how much I love the organization.
Well, Benji, it's great to talk to you, and I know every time I see you, and it's too rare when the Rangers play the Cardinals, but you remain one of the warmest and just nicest people to talk to about the game and about the sport. And I appreciate you taking some time. I have 800 other questions that we could. We're gonna let you go for today. Uh, Good luck the rest of the way with the Cardinals this year. Um,
Thank you.
who knows? Maybe we'll see another Ranger Cardinal series somewhere down the road. Maybe even in a post.
I know, man.
There's some history
Yeah,
to
who knows?
after a race, you know.
Yeah, who knows, man? I think you guys are covered with what's going on. You guys are doing great over there. One of the things that you guys should know is I did a book on tribute to my dad. In 2009, a New York best-selling list book. So we're working on a movie. Disney and Right took the book, and it's probably coming out in 2027.
Wow.
It's going to be a super inspirational movie. Hope parents out there get inspired, take care of their kids like my dad and my mom did to us. You know, sacrifice so much for them, and that's the purpose. You know, it's not a biography at all. It's not about necessarily my numbers. It's more about parenting. It's more about sacrificing, inspiring your kiddos, being humble, work hard, and hopefully your parents can help you get to where they want to be in the major leagues. So
Disney's picked up
be aware of that.
and they're developing it, huh?
Yeah, we have the script. Disney is reading the script right now, and after that, we gotta choose who gets to be in the movie. So it's gonna be fun, man. We have Lin-Manuel too involved.
Great.
So it's gonna be a producer.
That's out.
So it's gonna be fun, man.
Well,
and
that'll be
the
super.
Rangers probably be there.
That's a great story. One other thing, we never did get that baseball from that game, by the way, 2010. But I don't know where it went. But anyway, Bengie, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great second half with the Cardinals. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Same to the Rangers. Same to the Ranger fans. Stick with them and have a great second half.
Well, Bengie was great, Evan. We could have talked to him for another 20 minutes with a lot of different questions. But I think his moment in 2010, and then Ranger fans really have a great memory of Bengie and how he impacted that club. Because as we talked about, that was a young team. We didn't have a lot of guys with a lot of postseason experience. And Bengie was a real factor in the Rangers going to the World Series for the first time.
Yeah, and you know, John, that whole stretch right around the All-Star break and the acquisition of Cliff Lee, and there was a lot going on, and not to mention the bankruptcy case, and you get that kind of thing right out of the gate from Bengie, right? I think it was the second day after the All-Star break, and that really brought some more levity back into the clubhouse, and I don't want to say alleviated pressure, but I think it's one of those fun moments where everybody's reminded that the game is fun, and it makes it easier for the team to just go out and thrive.
Well, speaking of cycles, that's going to be the subject of the archives in Arlington today. And there have been 353 cycles in Major League history and 327 no-hitters, right? So pretty much right spot on. The Rangers don't quite have that same ratio. We've only had 5 no-hitters, and like you've said before, you've never covered a no-hitter with the Rangers.
The last one was 1994 was Kenny's perfect game, correct?
Right. It's going on 32 years since the Rangers had a no-hitter. But the Rangers have had 11 cycles, but they had a lot more no-hitters early on in the franchise history. First cycle wasn't until 1985, and Oddibe McDowell had that against Cleveland. And that 1985 season was my first year here. It was terrible. We lost 99 times. And that cycle against Cleveland was kind of the highlight of the season. It was done by a rookie. Oddibe McDowell was kind of our one real positive light of the 85 season. And then the Rangers didn't have another cycle for 19 years when Mark Teixeira finally had one in 2004. But kind of some of the memorable ones lately, obviously the Ian Kinsler cycle on Jackie Robinson Day in 2009, the first player in modern history to have a 6-hit cycle in a 9-inning game.
I believe I called that a cycle and a half because he had a double and the 4 hits and then another single and a double, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that was a big one. And Adrian Beltre had 2 cycles with Texas in 2012 and 2015, putting him in that elite company of, I think it's 6 or 7 guys now that have had 3 cycles in their career.
Those are
And then
called tricycles.
Tricycles is what we called it. Yep. And then Wyatt Langford had the last cycle in Baltimore. Were you on that road trip on the Sunday night game? We had the cycle
yes,
against the Orioles.
I believe, yeah.
The youngest player in Ranger history never hit for the cycle. And we have the batting helmets from both Langford and Kinsler on display in our archives. So anything come to mind on this? I mean, I think Bengie's cycle is probably the most notable of the 11, but
Bengie's just stands out. I mean, it was because it was so unlikely, and it was in the middle of this like rebirth year, and he was a newcomer, and the venue that he did it in, and again, we were just joking around in the press box when I said to you he's going to hit a side triple here, but it was just another kind of fantastic moment in that season. Ian's cycle also stands out to me because of the 6 hits, just a tremendous amount of work there. And I would say that the second of Beltre's cycle kind of sticks out just because, again, this is a guy who didn't do anything. He didn't just have a cycle. He had to have 2 cycles. It was a rarity of even
he had
among
3 cycles in his career.
Yeah.
They were all in that ballpark. The first one being for Seattle. They were all in the ballpark in Arlington.
So they're obviously, look, cycles are great moments in the game. They're kind of fluky accomplishments, but they're always fun to watch, and there's always fun suspense when a guy gets off to a 3-for-3 start with three different hits. So I love when it happens. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about them, but I love when they happen.
Well, that will be this week's Archives in Arlington, and we thank Bengie Molina for joining us this week. Evan, have a great weekend in your hometown of Atlanta. Rangers need to get off to a good start, and we'll see you all next week.